Welcome to the Non-Negotiable Living Podcast, where we're building lives by design by creating non-negotiable habits around fitness, family, faith, and financial freedom.
All right, everybody. Today we're talking about a topic that might seem somewhat controversial, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here for growth. So the topic we're talking about today is alcohol. And I tend to be of the mindset that alcohol and food are two of the most overly abused substances in the world. And hear me out. My parents were both drug addicts and alcoholics, so my mindset on alcohol is a little bit different than most. So today, I really want to challenge your thinking around this. Alcohol is widely used. It's something that has become very socially accepted. There is a stigma against people who overdo it, but I believe that there's a lot of gray area in that use. So I want to take this back a little bit and start with just some of my history so you understand where I'm coming from with this. Both my parents were drug addicts and alcoholics, so they both struggled with substance abuse around alcohol. So growing up, I didn't have alcohol in my household, and if it was in my household, it was not a good day in our world. So I never grew up with my parents casually drinking because they couldn't. That being said, as I got older, obviously, I started spending time with families who saw alcohol as a social thing that happened all the time. Just, wine with dinner, beers while watching football games, beers at baseball games, just having cocktails when you go out to lunch and dinner. All of these things that I wasn't really privy to growing up. So that being said, I'm not going to sugarcoat any of this. I'm not going to pretend like I haven't drank. Just to be completely honest, I started drinking when I was in high school, and I probably overdrank a lot of years at that time, and got to the point that I probably drank less in college than I did in high school because I kind of got it out of my system. So we're going to fast forward a little bit, and I just want to say that I don't shame anybody for drinking. I don't think there's anything wrong with drinking in moderation. I think that drinking is a very acceptable thing. I love whiskey. I enjoy cocktails. I enjoyed drinking to an extent. But I will say this. As I got older and as I really got settled into adulthood, I started to notice that alcohol consumption became something that was almost expected all the time. And maybe you guys can relate to this. It's almost like you couldn't go do anything without drinking. We couldn't go out to lunch without having drinks with friends. We couldn't go out to dinner without expecting to have cocktails. We couldn't go to a concert without buying beers. We couldn't go golfing without having cocktails or beers. We couldn't go out to dinner with people without drinking. We couldn't go to family events without drinking. We couldn't even go have family dinner at our family's house without drinking. And I started to realize that our life was revolving around this action, and I didn't understand the necessity for it. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. I got pregnant with my son in 2019. And obviously, that was the first time in my adult life that I stopped drinking for an extended period of time. And I'm going to tell you this, it was eye-opening. For one, it was eye-opening to see the people around me and how different they were when they were drinking versus when they weren't. You have to remember, I was typically drinking with these people. So I didn't notice until I was the one that was sober all the time. I started to notice that people aren't necessarily nicer when they're drinking. They're not kinder. They're not better people. There's a lot of unfortunate results that come from drinking. And that started to feel very exacerbated when I was the one who was sober all the time and everybody around me was drinking. So I had my son in 2020, right in the midst of COVID. And when that time came, we were all at home. We were all on lockdown. People weren't spending a lot of time together. So as a result, I'm breastfeeding, I'm home with the kid, my husband's working, he's out of the house, and I just continued to not really drink. So at the time, we might on the weekends go to family dinner and I'd have a drink or two, or my husband and I would go out on date night and I'd have a drink or two, or we'd get together from a family event or with friends and we would have some drinks. And that felt normal, that felt reasonable, that was something that we did, but it wasn't often. So I kind of went from, drinking probably a drink a night with my husband, a few on the weekend, quite a few at events, to after my son, I started drinking maybe 1 or 2 drinks a week. And if we went to an event, I might have a few. Then fast forward to having my daughter. And after another period of 9 months of not drinking, I really had no desire to go back to it. So then it turned into maybe having one nice cocktail with my husband a week, or if we went out to a date night, having a cocktail. But for the most part, I was at the point that I was kind of done with it. I didn't like how it made me feel. I didn't like the side effects of it. I didn't like that it hindered my thinking or my thought process or how I approached life. I didn't like just seeing the effects of it. So after having my daughter, I basically went to maybe having one cocktail a month at date night or at a special event or something like that. And I really started to wean back. Well, in April, my husband had this realization. He was like, I just don't think I need to drink anymore. And this was huge for me, guys. I'm just going to be really honest. I thought my husband was going to be that drink a beer every day kind of person forever. As he started to get more conscientious of his health, he started to drink less beer and he swapped to drinking whiskey, which isn't necessarily better, but it was less calories. And then he started to wean back his drinking as well. And I think it was as the result of me not drinking so much because we weren't doing it together. Well, come April, he's like, I don't think I need to drink anymore. And I was like, well, that's perfect because the only time I drink is when you and I are having like a special night together. So we stopped drinking. And throughout the last 6 or 8 months or however long it's been since we made that decision, I've probably had 6 cocktails since then. And it's been while we're traveling or overseas and just enjoying ourselves, just my husband and I. So again, I'm not shaming anybody who drinks. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it if you do it in moderation. But when I think about the fact that drinking causes people to make poor decisions with their health, they overeat, they overdrink, they indulge. Not only that, they make dangerous decisions. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people who drink and drive, and I see a lot of people who drink and drive with their children in the car. I see a lot of people who drink and then make unnecessary financial decisions that they shouldn't be. I see a lot of people drink and fight with their spouses, fight with their friends, get in fights with people at bars. And it just creates this level of anger and violence in people that they don't normally exemplify. And I don't think it's healthy. Alcohol doesn't make you happier. It doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't make you better looking. It doesn't make you more intelligent. It doesn't make you any of those things. It doesn't make you a better parent, a better spouse, a better anything. There's no added value. Alcohol is literally something that brings you down. There's nothing in your life that it brings you up. And we could argue about it all day, but that's what I've seen. Now, the next thing to consider is how you drink and when you drink and why you drink. So I had alcoholic parents. So I've always been incredibly cognizant of this because I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I saw it ruin people's lives. I saw it kill people. So I was always very passionate about being reasonable with my drinking when I did drink. For example, I set some strong non-negotiables with my drinking habits as I was an adult. I would never drink alone. If I was home, we had a liquor cabinet. We had fridges full of ciders and beers and seltzers. I never drank alone. If my husband was not home, if a friend was not here, I wouldn't drink. That was a non-negotiable. The next thing is I would never drink when I was angry or upset. Unfortunately, people get all worked up and they think, I need a drink. That's awful. That is the last time you should be drinking. There are no good decisions, choices, or outcomes that are going to come from that. Stop doing it. The next thing was, I would never drink after a really hard day. Now, some of you guys might be shook by this because I feel like that's society's default. It's been a rough day. I need a beer. It's been a rough day. I need a drink. Stop, guys. Learn to deal with your feelings, learn to cope with your life, and learn to process your emotions around things and stop drowning them in alcohol. Please, for the love of God and everything that is important to you in your life, learn how to deal with your life the right way without drowning your feelings. So if you are somebody who is struggling, maybe you drink a lot, maybe you know you drink too much. Another thing that I want you to consider is there's a lot of people who probably drink too much who don't think they drink too much. So I want you to consider this. Would it cause you turmoil to stop drinking? You may not consider yourself an alcoholic. Maybe when you drink, you don't have to get the cops called on you. Maybe you don't break into people's houses. Maybe you don't get DUIs. Maybe you don't scream at your children and wife. Maybe you don't do those things. But would it cause you emotional and physical distress if you stopped drinking? And I want you to consider that because a lot of people don't. A lot of people think, oh, I drink like a normal person. Yeah, but what's normal these days, guys? People drink every day in excess and call it normal. It's not normal. And we have to be reasonable with our drinking. And if you're struggling with your weight and drinking excessively, you might want to consider how those things play together. So I want you to take a step back. Think about it. How much do I drink? When I go to the doctor and that form says, how many drinks do I have a week? Am I lying? Because a lot of people are. So I want you to consider, how much am I drinking? Under what circumstances do I drink? Would I be in physical or mental and emotional distress if I stopped drinking? Could I stop drinking? And for women, think about it this way. If you got pregnant, could you make it that 9 months without drinking if you needed to? Think about that. Think about this. When you're drinking, are you a good parent? Are you a good spouse? Do you drive? Do you make poor decisions? Are you one of those people that falls off the bandwagon and loses all control of your life when you start drinking or you have a weekend of excess? Guys, our life is so much bigger and more important than alcohol consumption. And I've realized it becomes this status symbol. Like you see it on Instagram. Here's me and my drink out camping. Here's me and my drink on the boat. And believe me, guys, I've been there. I've been that person. So I get it. I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong. But think about the importance that you put around alcohol. Do you think your family's that important? Do you think your kids are that important? Do you think your health is that important? Stop making alcohol this thing and putting it on a pedestal and making it this status symbol in your life. Alcohol should not hold that much importance in your life. And if it does, you should probably reconsider how much you're drinking. Having had alcoholic parents, I grew up going to AA. That's where my belief in God came from. I've spent more time in meetings than churches. So if you're struggling with alcohol consumption, get help. Go to AA, get a sponsor, do the work. Your life literally depends on this. So if you need to make a change, ask for help, reach out to me. I'll connect you with somebody. My dad's been sober for 27 years now. I'll get you in touch with him. I'll help you find meetings. I'll give you resources, whatever you need, because I don't want to see more people die because of this disease. And alcoholism is a disease. Anybody who's dealt with an alcoholic knows this. It's not as simple as just saying, I'm done, I want to quit, if you truly are an alcoholic. So if you're struggling, if you've tried to quit and it's not working, if you want to quit, if you know you need to, if your life's spiraling, there are people, there is support, there is a future, and the promises are true. Your life can be exponentially greater. You can have your health back, your mind, your family, your future. You can do this. I believe in you guys. So please, look at your alcohol consumption, look at your life, look at the importance that you're placing on this thing, and decide, does this serve me or does this not? And if it does serve you, if you do feel like it's something you love and enjoy, create non-negotiables around it. Set expectations for how much you're going to drink a week, under what circumstances you drink, under what circumstances you choose not to drink because you know how you act. Be realistic, be responsible. Your life literally can hang in the balance here when it comes to alcohol. It is that powerful. So don't give alcohol power that it doesn't deserve in your life. You guys got this.